This week in Women in Sports, Minnetonka's jazz dance team is headed to state. Why this trip has been 20 years in the making. Then a former Gopher is back in the arena, but this time as a high school girls basketball coach. And later, a heartbreaking end to what was supposed to be a historic comeback. How U.S. fans are reacting to Lindsay Vonn's crash in Italy. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marielle Mohs, and here at WCCO, we are celebrating the highlights of female athletes in this digital segment called Women in Sports. We'll share news stories with you every week right here as we do our part to give these athletes the recognition they deserve. First up, they fought their way to the top spot for high school girls basketball this season. Wayzata is undefeated in the Lake Conference after big wins against Minnetonka and Hopkins. Recently, I had the chance to catch up with the Trojans and hear about this season's success. Moments like this against the reigning 4A champs are defining when Wayzata defeated Hopkins last month.
Obviously, they're a really good team, but we went in there with confidence, knowing that we could get the job done. And it gives us a lot of confidence going into the rest of the conference and then playoffs.
Senior Kate Amela is one of the top scorers in the state, averaging 21 points per game, but views herself as a utility player.
On some nights, that's going to be passing, distributing the ball, and then some nights that's going to be scoring. So yeah, just doing whatever I can to help my team win.
Kate, she plays with such a passion. She plays the game with so much joy, which is just really refreshing to the game of basketball.
Head coach Julie Stewart is in her 5th year at the helm of this program. She says her team is working hard at practice, trying not to focus too much on rankings.
We know there's work to do and a lot of things that we got to improve on yet.
Another Trojan standout is junior Marin Day. Coach Stewart called the South Dakota State commit her most reliable, consistent player.
We really worked together as a team, focused on the things we wanted to fix in the game so the game kind of exposed for us. And then we worked really hard in practice, and yeah, I think we're hitting our stride at the right moment now, yeah.
Amela is a Creighton commit next year, but wants to finish her high school time winning Wayzata's first state championship in 16 seasons.
I think the sky's the limit for this team.
Good luck to the Trojans. Well, another girls basketball team on the rise in Minnesota and aiming for program history. This team also features one of the less talked about but best players in the state. Here's Ren Clayton with more.
It's still dark out, and East Ridge girls basketball is getting work in, tracking toward their best season ever.
We definitely have a little more, I guess you could say, buzz around us and more people at our games and stuff, so people are taking notice, thankfully.
The Raptors are led by Vienna Murray, an athletic 6'1" guard who committed to Oklahoma this fall. A weight off her back and a good fit.
Fast-paced, they love to shoot it, love to score early in the offense.
Kind of like here?
Yes. Yeah, I know. That's I feel like we've kind of transitioned from my first year to now. We play a lot faster.
Vienna's been making music on the court since she transferred in as a sophomore, and she's come a long way, enough to make a coach emotional.
The pride and the confidence, something that I'm proud of when I see her, so yeah.
More and more folks are taking notice with the Raptors' growing win total, but Murray still flies under the radar.
Do you feel like you're like a little underrated in this year's class with a lot of big names?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm ranked 3rd in the class, but a lot of the hype is on, I like to say, the west side of the city and everything. I don't want to say I'm underrated, but I just don't get as much exposure as other girls, which is fine. It just kind of motivates me to work harder.
Eastridge has never been to the state tournament. That should change this season, thrusting themselves into the conversation.
We don't need to be the loud team in the state. A lot of people say, the East doesn't have good basketball. Yeah, it does.
Ren Clayton, WCCO Sports.
And good luck to the Raptors. Well, he knows basketball and has quite a background in the game. After a career as a Gopher and playing professionally overseas, he's back in Minnesota coaching a whole new set of athletes. He's leading Totino Grace girls high school basketball team. Our Mike Max introduces us to Travaris Bennett.
He came from a junior college to Minnesota 26 years ago. Impressed by the feel he got with an assist to timing.
Once I took my visit here, I loved the diversity that was here. Besides that, playing at the highest level. I got kind of fooled with the weather. I took my visit in April, so it wasn't as cold.
He has stayed and now coaches the Totino Grace girls team. It's been a while, so they had to look up his highlights to understand his resume.
Burleson, gorgeous pass to Bennett.
I looked him up when I first found out that he was going to be our coach. I looked him up and I saw some of his highlights and I was like, wow. And I didn't know he did all that. I was like, wow, that's cool.
He coached the St. Francis girls team before taking the Totino Grace job. He was hesitant to coach girls basketball initially.
But I had the wrong idea of what girls basketball was about. I think they're more intense than guys, and they listen more because they're not depending on their athletic ability about jumping over people or doing a lot of crossover. So they learn the real basic fundamentals of basketball.
What has impressed the team is not the success, but how he handles the moments where game plans fail.
I don't feel like it's him or him looking at me like a shame pun. He's just like, it's okay, Maria, next one. So that's just been really great to have.
Yes, he's been bitten by the coaching bug. Scouting important, but his philosophy is it's more about self-scout, as in know yourself.
But for the most part, I believe if we take care of us, everything else will fall in place. So for me, it's more about taking care of us, playing TG's way, playing hard, playing physical, communicating, doing all that little stuff. Everything else, the win will come if we do all those little things.
The basketball journey can take you many places. Bennett never dreamed he'd end up in Minnesota, having grown up in Mississippi, and he's still a Gopher at heart, hoping they can do something special and make him a proud basketball alum.
Where I wanted to be is where, for example, when I would be in different countries playing somewhere and how guys would be bragging on their school and my school does this, or we're in the tournament, we're doing this. I want the same thing, and it can happen. I think Nick would do a good job. I think Ben did an exceptional job as well, but I think Nick brings in a new energy.
Well, the Gopher women's basketball team is on a roll with recent ranked upsets against Iowa under their belt. I recently sat down with a key contributor to their roster who is one of the best three-point shooters in the country right now.
This is Grace Grocholski's shot.
When you give Grocholski room, she's going to drill it. Number one three-point shooter in the country.
Has it always been your shot?
The three, yeah. Yeah.
She's already hit 57 three-pointers this season.
Just my team puts me in great spots and gets me those looks.
Grace is thriving as a Gopher, even though it wasn't her initial school of choice. The North Prairie, Wisconsin native first committed to Arizona State, but the head coach retired. Then she committed to Coach Dawn Plitzowite, who was at the helm of West Virginia University. But Coach P suddenly took the job at Minnesota, and Grace trusted her fully and followed, which she says was meant to be.
I can drive home and back. My family gets to come to way more games than they would have if I was at either of those two schools. It really was the best situation.
The Gophers hold an 18-6 record so far, and they're staying healthy, keeping their bench deep, leading to 2 ranked wins against USC and Iowa this season. Grace says they have lofty goals of a deep run in the Big Ten tournament and March Madness.
I think just our team in general is just clicking the most that we ever have. And I think you can just tell, like we've talked about it, just how much joy we're playing with. And that energy that we bring into those games is just, when we're having fun, we're playing a lot better.
At the University of Minnesota, Marielle Mohs, WCCO Sports.
Well, Minnetonka's jazz dance team is at the state tournament this weekend. It's a monumental moment for the program, which hasn't had a state appearance in more than 2 decades. Recently, I had a chance to catch up with this unstoppable team.
Leaving it all on the gym floor. That's exactly what the Minnetonka Skipperettes did at the highly competitive 2 AAA section competition last weekend. And the performance of a lifetime paid off.
The Minnetonka.
They finished in a top 3 spot in jazz.
Exploding with joy. Sections was probably the happiest day of my life.
Earning a ticket to the state tournament for the first time since 2005, a 21-year absence.
It's been longer than our lifetime since we've gone to state. It's just truly even crazy to comprehend.
For seniors, Ellie Meschler, Kenzie Meckel, and Kaden Pelstring, this accomplishment holds even more weight.
I think about when I first joined the team, I never even thought where we are today was possible. And just seeing that growth from both us, the coaches, and the program has just been so rewarding.
3, 4.
The days leading up to state are all about fine-tuning the routine.
6, 7, 8.
Head coach Megan Rowe feels a special connection to this roster of dancers.
Hip 5.
These little seniors were my freshmen when I had started this program, so it's crazy to see the growth that they've even had as dancers and as leaders, and just to see their confidence that has really kind of shined throughout these last couple of years.
They're competing to the song Unstoppable by Sia, a meaning that meets the moment.
Here I am, I am unstoppable. You can't take it this away from me.
With one more competition left to go this season, these dancers feel like they already won.
This team has been such a big part of my life, and it just adds to my love for it to get this special ending.
And the state tournament is happening this weekend at Target Center. The jazz competition is happening today on Friday, and the high kick competition is Saturday. Former Olympian and UCLA gymnast Jordan Childs living up to Prince's standards by delivering a perfect 10 performance on the floor. Here she is in front of a sold-out crowd at Maturi Pavilion in Minneapolis last weekend. She performed a Prince-themed floor routine with a remix of his most popular songs. The crowd and the judges loved it. Perfect 10, as we mentioned. Childs first did this floor routine last year, but she brought it back specifically for competing in Minnesota. And ultimately, it helped UCLA win the meet by a fraction of a point. Well, as the Winter Games continue in Italy, an update on the Duluth curling duo, the Coreys. After their match up with Sweden, the U.S. lost and took home the silver medal. This is the first medal in mixed curling for the United States. Corey Dropkin and Corey TC were up against a brother-sister team from Sweden. And while the Coreys were up 5-4 in the 7th end, they couldn't keep up the momentum. Sweden roared back with a double in the 8th end to take the gold. Still a huge accomplishment to them, making Minnesota proud. Meanwhile, for Team USA women's hockey, they dominated rival Team Canada in the round-robin matchup. Team USA got 2 goals in the first period, then 2 more in the second, and then finished up the game with a 5th goal in the last period, a shutout against Canada. College players accounted for 8 of USA's 13 total points. That's 5-0 win to clinch the top seed spot for the U.S. in the medals round. Lindsay Vonn's long-awaited Olympic comeback hit a heartbreaking halt during the downhill race in Italy. Vonn crashed 13.4 seconds into her downhill race. She was airlifted off the course and brought to a hospital and underwent surgery. The Associated Press says she broke her leg. This after Vonn ruptured her ACL in a World Cup race weeks ago. I went to Buck Hill in Burnsville, which is Vonn's childhood ski hill, to talk to the skiers there reacting to this unexpected setback.
Well, it makes me cry.
An emotional morning for first tracks at Buck Hill.
Oh, it's disappointing. It was 14 seconds into the run, and yeah, she fell hard.
Skiers coming to the slopes after catching Minnesota native Lindsay Vonn fall in the downhill Olympic event earlier Sunday morning. For Denise and Paul Assen, this result doesn't take away from all this legendary skier has accomplished in her career.
I love Lindsay. We were so proud of her, and we knew she would have done a great job. And we have to give her so much credit for trying and doing her best. And that was a fall no one could recover from.
Everybody loves the comeback. Ex-champion comes back, does great, and at some point, the chain just ends, and this might be it for her, but what a run.
Lindsay Vonn grew up skiing as a toddler here at Buck Hill in Burnsville, and still to this day, she is inspiring young skiers who are getting on the slopes.
I think she inspires me even after all of her injuries to keep pushing, keep going for the things that she's wanted.
I grew up on this hill and she also did, so it's like I'm skiing in the same tracks that she did too when she was here.
Vonn had nothing to prove to her fans by coming out of retirement to compete in the Olympics at 41 years old. But she did it for herself, and along the way showed everyone what resilience looks like.
And all the things that she's been through her whole life, and she wakes up and has a great attitude and goes for it. I mean, we should all live like that.
The silver lining, Vonn's teammate Breezy Johnson from Wyoming took home gold in the downhill event. It was the first medal for Team USA this Olympics. Johnson is the second American woman to win the downhill event ever, after Vonn did it 16 years prior. Well, hope you'll check out this week's episode of the WCCO podcast, Women in Sports. This week, I caught up with local dance royalty, Ava and Ellie Wagner. The Woodbury sisters have been shining on stage since they were little girls. They went on to represent some of the strongest teams in college dance, the Minnesota Gophers and the Ohio State Buckeyes. You could call this a house divided. The two schools are consistently battling for top honors.
We grew up together, we went to school together, we did everything together. So I think it was like very important for us to kind of like take our own paths and what was best for both of us.
I was just in Florida for this year's UDA Nationals, and the battle was tense between Minnesota and Ohio. I can attest to that. More on that dynamic duo and how these sisters are building their professional dance careers on this week's episode of Women in Sports. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Well, thanks for watching this week's Women in Sports. I'm Marielle Mohs, and we'll be back with more great stories next week.